Hi, I'm Josh Curving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. But first, we have a little bit of catching up to do. So first off, we have Archie Sonic versus the Flash. The fight went essentially as I expected. And when we went through the stats and such, I pretty much gave Archie Sonic, I think, everything that they gave him. Um, and then the Flash just had counters to just everything he had. The animation was actually pretty cool. I really liked the end when like they had Flash like with the flames going on his head. I don't know if that's actually a reference to anything that happens in the comics, but I mean it's Speed Force, ain't gotta explain shit. Um, yeah, it was a very well done episode. The next one was the one that we knew about, Winter Soldier versus Red Hood. Um, hmm. Okay, so good episode. I think I am okay with the live action for this one. For something like Nightwing versus Daredevil, it was a bit too slow, and the choreography wasn't nearly acrobatic enough for how acrobatic the characters were. For this one, sorry, for this one, the fight was more, I guess, grounded in like they're a bit more brute forcers. They have guns, and that all translated over a lot more easily um, to the live action choreography. The results themselves, it's pretty much the classic thing of, typically speaking, Marvel street level characters beat DC street level characters, but then other way around for when you get to the like Herald level characters. So the result wasn't surprising at all. It was just a little bit strange with some of the stuff that they did put there. And then we have Venom versus Crona. Now, what's weird is that this one actually sparked a lot of discussion surrounding. I believe there's like a line of comic with like Kate's or something like that. And Venom at the current moment has like some buffs that are like crazy powerful, and if they had included them, then Crona would have definitely lost. Um, which I guess kind of comes into play with how you look at things in terms of the characters as they are most traditionally represented. Um, so it did lead to the fact that they didn't include that stuff for Venom. And then Crona ultimately won because Crona literally weaponizes the main weakness that Venom has. Um, the animation was decent. I wouldn't say it was one of the better ones, but the the custom sprite work that they did for Crona and Ragnarok was really really good. I also really liked the in the analysis when they kind of went into the fact that both of them aren't actually villains anymore, at least, which most people for Venom just think that he's the crazy murderer still, but he's not. He hasn't been that way for quite a while. So that catches us up on everything that's released so far. But we still have a little bit of extra catching up to do because there's two fights that ultimately need to still get talked about. Um, no, I suppose I should address why I've been needing to play catch up at all. I've actually been in and out of the hospital a little bit ago. Was recovering from that. Um, so I ultimately didn't have a lot of time to do full research into things. Um, so I decided against doing the videos for that. But I think I should be okay to do to go back to regular schedule for a bit. Speaking of regular schedule, Death Battle is not doing that right now because they have two fights announced, and they are both going to be coming out. Oh, it is just going to be 2 weeks between them. Weird. Okay, so everything's getting delayed by a week, I guess. So next we have Jon Talbain versus Saberwulf from from Darkstalkers and Killer Instinct. Now, I've not played very much of either game. Um, But generally speaking, the feats that people are going for with this one is Saberwulf, I guess, harmed Jago in the comics, so scale him to Jago. Um, and then Jon Talbain is a Darkstalkers character who have fuck all for like content for the most part. So you kind of need to go into the like Udon comics and the OVAs, which at which point he's tearing apart Huitzel robots that were capable of fighting Pyron. So this is a bit of a tricky one just in terms of what you are including for all the characters. If you're going strictly by the games, then Saberwulf is kind of going to tear Jon apart with no issues. But if you do start to bring in stuff like the OVAs and the comics, it is going to start leaning a lot more heavily into Jon's favor. Um, which I think they will. I think they're going to use a lot of that extra stuff because otherwise they just have nothing to use. And then neither of these characters um, are particularly hacksy. Like neither of them have a way that they can like end the fight without just beating the shit out of the other person. Um, Now, Jon will be a lot faster either way because just scaling to the Huitzels that were capable of like flying intergalactic distances. He's gonna be a lot faster. Like we know the distance that Pyron's planet is outside of the solar system. So even like minimum distances for that is still way faster than anything in Killer Instinct. Um, but without it, Jon is a lot weaker, so he wouldn't actually be able to harm Saberwulf. Um, so in this case, I think erring on the side of them actually using more stuff is probably the better bet. I don't even know if they're necessarily going to scale him fully to Jago. Um, just because Death Battle doesn't tend to do the, oh, they scratched this person, so better give them all the person's best feats. So I think I'm leaning towards Jon for this one. I also don't want to see Darkstalkers be 0 for 2, because it's actually a really powerful fighting game verse, but Felicia and Jon are not the greatest representations of that. So then we have the other fight that's been announced, which is the red team versus the blue team from Red versus Blue. Now, I've watched some Red versus Blue, but most of what I've watched is actually the freelancer stuff. I think it was like seasons like 8, 9, and 10, I think. But I've done some looking into things, and from what I can tell, the blue team should probably crush here. So here's the thing, is Tucker on his own could probably wipe the floor with most of the blue team. Sorry, the red team. He is just a lot more skilled. And is, especially in more recent events, a lot less error prone. He's actually kind of a badass. Where the red team still largely does get by on comedy, weirdly enough. I know that's the lifeblood of the show, but Tucker's the one with the sword who has basically been being a badass and actually fighting things. It gets even worse if you start adding in some of the other characters who have joined the blue team, namely Tex and Wash. If either one of them is added, the entire red team is just boned, because then the blue team will have 3 people who are capable of just effortlessly kicking all of their asses. Church can also just shut down Lopez, and no, actually Lopez was gaining a resistance to it, but he can actually fuck with some of the other people. And just Church in general is kind of hard to get rid of because he's an AI at this point. So again, I don't know how they're going to play that. It's just very questionable in terms of like what you give them over this, like, what are we on, 17 seasons? So it'll be interesting to see, but I definitely lean on the side of the blue team. So we will see for that one when it comes out. Other than that, I have basically caught up, and I will hopefully be able to jump right back into things after the Red versus Blue episode comes out. And yeah, I will see you guys then. Have a good one.